What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And Nick, Rams have to travel to New Jersey to play the Jets this weekend, coming off of a long week. Rams are 8-6, looking to make a playoff push in the NFC West. Jets are 4-10, but just got a big win over the Jags. But before we jump into this episode, first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I think most Rams fans have a fear of the Jets ever since that 2020 matchup when we lost against them and they got their first win of the season against us around this time. Yeah. I feel like we're always scheduled to play a New York team around this time of year in New York or Jersey or whatever. But I'm feeling good. I think the Rams are poised to start their run right now, and I'm excited to also come back to New Jersey tonight.
Yeah, the Rams are poised to start the run. So far this season, when Nick is in New Jersey, the Rams have been kicking some ass. So Nick is going to head back to his hometown. Hopefully, the Rams are able to get a win in this game, which I think they will. They've been playing some really good football. They're coming off of a long week of rest. Obviously, two huge wins against the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers. Another AFC East matchup. So they've been pretty good against the AFC East, with the exception of the Miami game in primetime. So I'm pretty optimistic. I wouldn't even say cautious at this point, because it's a win that they most definitely should get. So here's the current standings. The Rams are in first place. They're at 8-6. They hold the tiebreaker over the Seahawks right now because they won the head-to-head matchup, but they're going to see the Seahawks later on this season. And then you obviously got the Cardinals at 7-7, and the 49ers still in the basement at 6-8. So here's the Rams' upcoming schedule. So we got Rams at Jets. Obviously a 1 p.m. game. It's an early game, which McVay has historically coached pretty well in these games, but we mentioned the weather is going to be a little bit difficult to manage. Going to be 26 degrees, I think a high of 26, and 8 to 10 mile per hour winds in this game against the Jets. And historically, McVay coaching in cold weather games is a little bit of a headache. So we'll see how that all fares out. Then they got the Cardinals at home, which that game was flexed to Saturday on prime time at 8 p.m. And then they got the Seahawks at home, and that timing is TBD. So two home games, two divisional home games to end the season. And the Rams have to handle business over the next couple of weeks in effort to clean up the NFC West and potentially get a divisional victory there. So this is per Sosa. If the Rams win in Week 16 versus the Jets and Week 17 versus the Cardinals, the NFC West is theirs, and their ticket to the playoffs is punched if the Seahawks lose this week. So here's what we're looking at in terms of schedules across the board for our division rivals. We mentioned Rams have the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. Seahawks have the Vikings at home. Then they have to travel to Chicago, and then they have to travel to Los Angeles to end the season with the Rams. And the Cardinals have the Panthers, which, pretty easy schedule for the Cardinals for the remainder of the season. If the San Francisco 49ers continue to play bad, they got the Panthers in Carolina, then the Rams in Los Angeles, and then they have to host the San Francisco 49ers. So everything depends on the next 3 weeks, but it's set up for the Rams to get to win the division. And I think we're all optimistic that they're going to be able to do it just based on their last 2 weeks.
I don't want to look too far ahead, because the Jets are a team where Stafford doesn't have a good record against Rodgers head-to-head, and neither does McVay. So it's not like – I think the Cardinals are probably looking at the same thing, where it's like, okay, we have the Panthers this week. Let's worry about the Rams next week. If you do that, I think these are games that you can drop. I don't think the Jets are a good team, but they are – they still have Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They're coached really poorly. And luckily – they did get that win last week over the Jags, which I'm so glad that they did, because I think they're going to be less hungry going into this game. I mean, I still think just for their own desire, they want to win out, just so they're at least have the same record as they had last year. But I mean, yeah, they're not a team that is a complete team top to bottom, but they're a team that can steal a win from a good team.
Yeah,
they were going from Seattle, which would have been.
Yeah, they did. They almost did. And you know what? The Rams, obviously, they're right in the 4th seed right now. So if they lose, their playoff probability drops down to 43%. So not necessarily a dramatic must-win situation. It is against an AFC opponent. We know that the conference record is typically the tiebreaker if there isn't a head-to-head situation at play for the seeding. And then also currently, they're at 57% playoff probability. And if they win, they're at 65%. So here's what we're looking at in terms of the odds. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites, similar spread to what we've been looking at over the past couple of weeks. But the Rams are on the opposite side. So they're 3.5-point favorites in this game, minus 175 if you want them on the money line. 92% of bets have been placed on the Rams money line to win outright. 80% of the bets have been placed on the Rams minus 3.5 to cover the spread. And the over-under right now is at 46. So 54% of the money is on the over. I think a lot of people are expecting a Stafford and Aaron Rodgers showdown. Obviously, both can throw the ball still. And Rodgers is coming off of a really solid week where he threw 3 touchdowns against the Jaguars. And then we mentioned also the temperature. So here's the record for McVay against the weather. So 35 degrees. This was the divisional round against the Packers. They lost that game 18-32. That temperature was 35 degrees. And then in 2018, in December, in Chicago, everybody remembers that game. It was the 15-6 game. Vic Fangio had our number. The Rams' offense was figured out. 2018, in October, they were in Denver. They actually won that game. So similar temperature in this one. We're getting into Jets. They won that game 23-20. And then back in 2022, they played in 15-degree temperature, also in Green Bay. They lost that one 12-24. So a lot of this, head-to-head McVay situation, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, like a lot of the head-to-head situations have to do with us having to travel to Green Bay, playing a really tough spot. It's back when you had Jared Goff as your quarterback, like situations completely different at this point. This team is not well coached. They're susceptible against the run on defense. It feels like this last matchup, they really kind of all put it together offensively with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers kind of finding the fountain of youth. But just wanted to kind of put that out there because the last episode, we didn't talk about the rain whatsoever, and it heavily impacted the entire first quarter of the game.
100%.
So
it was the whole theme of that game was the rain. I really think the weather, I don't think is going to be a factor in like the sense of, I don't think it's going to stop us, because I think what we're going to try to do in this game is run the ball. The Jets run defense is, like you said, it's not that great. So if you can get out there and just get Corum and Kyron just go down their throats, and then similarly, I think the Jets are going to be having the same game plan because of the weather, and they have a really bad offensive line that our guys can just pin their ears back and just get home to a not mobile quarterback in the slightest. So I mean, personally, my keys to victory are run the ball and then just be tight up front on defense. I think those two things are going to be the keys. That being said, when you showed the spread, why don't you flash that on the screen one more time for me? Show me where the money's at. This is terrifying. This is the worst thing that you're going to see if you're a Rams fan. And you know why only 8% of the money's on the Jets? Because Vegas knows something. The money line is only plus 145. That makes no sense. Jets are terrible, and the Rams are like poised to make like a Super Bowl run right now. So everything about this, where the money's coming in, is just scaring me more than I thought possible going into this game.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right? Because this is somewhat of a trap game, right? I mean, you saw it against the Miami Dolphins. You've seen it in games where Rams have been 3.5-point favorites. So that's where it gets a little bit scary. But you are playing against ayahuasca Aaron Rodgers. He's a little bit checked out. They're looking for a brand new GM. They're trying to figure out things from a running back perspective. They got injuries with Breece Hall. And Braylon Allen's not as great as he was to start the season. The offensive line is susceptible. I think against the run, they've struggled. I wanted to show the stat again against the run. You got to go two-headed attack. Kyron has been fantastic over the past couple of weeks. Jets are 16th against the run, so 121 yards allowed per game. Against the pass, they're much more similar to what we saw with San Francisco. They're 5th against the pass, 193.9 yards allowed per game. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have a combination of Matthew Stafford getting under center, in the pistol, in play action, being able to kind of run your game and control things at the line of scrimmage. I want to see the offensive line establish dominance. I saw Quinn Williams is actually on the injury report this week, which would be a massive loss for the Jets if he's not able to go against the Rams. He's one of the best run stuffers, one of the best pass rushers. But they just seem to have holes all over the place. But they do have a pretty decent secondary. Guys like Sauce Gardner and Quantez Stiggers, they're pretty good on the back end. Even a guy like Chuck Clark, not really having a great season. You got Tony Adams is pretty decent from a back end perspective. But I'm excited to see them put everything together in this game. It doesn't like you want to see them be able to win in multiple different weather situations. You want to see them be able to win on the road. You want to see them be able to win when the other quarterback throws 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, similar to what Josh Allen did. If you could win in multiple ways, you are a force. You're a problem, and you're a team that other teams do not want to see when it comes playoff time.
I'm also like, the Jets fired Robert Saleh very early into the season before they could even like make their mark as like a team. And he was detrimental in stopping the Rams and knew what McVay was running. When he was over in San Francisco, I think they were undefeated against us when they had him as a defensive
I think you're right. Yeah.
I hated seeing that bald head of his celebrating. Just so happy on the sideline, stopping us. I remember that one season, I think it was 2019. They stopped us from getting into the playoffs. It was brutal. Right after we were just in the Super Bowl. But the fact that he's off the team, like this was a game I circled at the start of the season, like, oh, it's going to be a tough one in New York late in the season. But I mean, their defense has been, since he's been gone, has like dropped the ball and has not looked the same. And that is where you're going to have to, I mean, yes, the secondary is still really good, but that run, like get the run going early and often and just control clock and just be a force. And I mean, Kyron and Blake have been solid this year. I just want one game where they are looking like a top 5 back, one of them. You know what I mean? Just give me like give me a 50-yard chunk run, like something like that. Get a little more creative with it.
I would like to see the Rams, run a little bit more of their outside zone and be able to stretch the edges, because guys like Will McDonald, he's not having a great season. Guys like Michael Clemens, like they're susceptible on the edge. It's the interior where they're a little bit more tough to stop. The guys like Quinnen Williams, the guys like Javon Kinlaw, and even in the middle, you got Jamie Sherwood's pretty solid from a middle linebacker perspective. So like to be able to kind of stretch this defense, make them defend every blade of grass, be able to kind of, establish at the line of scrimmage, be able to run your gap scheme, but also be able to go back to some of McVay's fundamentals, which are the outside zone primarily. I would really like to see them be able to establish that consistently. Blake Corum runs great in both styles, but I feel like Kyron, when you get him out in space a little bit more, he's not really all that big, all that physical to be able to run in between guards, but to get him on the outside to be able to stretch the defense and then take a play action shot off of that to me on a 2nd and 2, when McVay can really kind of dig into his bag, run a play action shot to Puka Nacua or Tutu Atwell or Demarcus Robinson, one of those guys, to me, is where you're going to be able to win this game. So I'm excited to see that potentially happen. And we know that the Odell Beckham news, and not to get off topic, but this has come up as of recent. So I wanted to get your opinion on this because obviously McVay loves Odell. He mentioned to Gary Klein, this was today, that it's not something that they think that they're going to look at right now. But in this game, you are getting Big Rig Higgs back, so the offensive line, again, should be a little bit more physical. Just curious of your opinion in this one with Odell Beckham Jr. to potentially bring him back. And I have an alternate if you're not interested in Odell Beckham Jr.
I think that Demarcus Robinson is filling that role as 3 quite well. And I think that they feel like a comfort between him and Stafford right now, that they're probably like, we're good, like if something happens to one of like our 3 or 4, if Tutu goes down, even though I know he's not that type of receiver, maybe you can bring him in. But I kind of feel the same way as Sean, where it's like, go explore options, dude, because it seems like there are teams that like, get him back on the Ravens. Wasn't he with them last year? Like, he should, see if that's a viable option for him.
Yeah, I think one of those things would be Fitz. And the only reason I think to even bring Odell back is, one, in the red zone. If you struggle this week, if you struggle next week, you continue to execute in the red zone. Odell's great there. But also if Demarcus Robinson ends up getting suspended for the DUI situation, which I don't know if that's going to happen, Odell Beckham Jr. will be right back on the Rams. You'll see a little bit more Tutu Atwell. So that would be one that I just want to kind of keep in the mind of Rams fans potentially. And then as an alternate, I know there's been a lot of Aaron Donald talk because the Rams are now trying to make a potential playoff run. But this is one that our dad just sent us, and this was breaking news as of a couple hours ago. Calais Campbell. So Miami, I guess, essentially is, if they're eliminated, they're kind of going through a fire sale at this point. Calais Campbell did mention today in an interview that it's possible if Miami is eliminated to have some conversation about getting waived before the season's end to finish somewhere else. So to me, that would be an incredible run stuffer that you could bring into the building. He was one that I wanted in the offseason. He dominated us. Do you remember the Miami game when he was batting balls at the line of scrimmage and rushing the passer? He's the #1 graded run defender amongst all interior defensive tackles right now. So if Aaron Donald doesn't want to come back, you want to bring in a veteran in Calais Campbell, I would be so much more interested in making that move than I would be, adding more into the receiver room. So something to kind of keep in mind as well.
He's a captain. He was a captain of Miami, right? Like just true leadership from him. Kudos to Miami for being like, dude, go, get your bag or get your ring or whatever you're looking for, because it seems like they weren't going to pick up his option next year or sign him again. So, that excites me 10 times more, maybe even 100 times more than bringing in Odell. And, Odell's great. Caught the first touchdown in the Super Bowl. But that is somebody that could change the game for the Rams 100%.
I think so too. Yeah, to be able to defend. They're defending the run really well right now, but to be able to do it consistently down the stretch on the road in the playoffs, have veteran leadership that can come in and rotate, that would be tough.
Someone's going to pick him up.
For sure.
I just don't he's going to go with Kansas City or Philly if we don't pick him up. So
or Detroit. Detroit would be a really good landing spot because of all their injuries defensively. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense right now. Yeah, Detroit does make a lot of sense.
I could see that happening. So back into this game real quick. I just want to go through what's going on with the Jets. So they're 4-10, but Aaron Rodgers is coming off of one of his best games in the entire season. He was only 16 of 30, but he threw for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So this is via Next Gen Stats. Says despite averaging his longest time to throw in a game this season, which is 3.18 seconds, Rodgers was pressured on 16.7% of his dropbacks. So 6 pressures, 1 sack. His second lowest pressure rate faced in a game this season. So Rodgers, obviously, we know when he has time to, kind of pick apart the defense, to be able to evaluate things post-snap, that's when he's obviously the most effective. So he completed 8 of his 18 attempts over 2.5 seconds for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, the most passing yards on such passes in a game by Rodgers this season. He also scrambled 5 times for 45 yards, which were his most in a game since 2020. So it felt like Rodgers, Devontae Adams, they found the fountain of youth. Obviously, Alan Lazard's still there. There's still some drama going on with Garrett Wilson. But I want to be able to keep him contained consistently. And this is a massive one for Jared Verse because obviously Jared Verse still a defensive rookie of the year candidate, but Quinyon Mitchell's slowly creeping up. So I want to see him be able to, get home and finish the job. Guys like Kingpin, guys like Kobe Turner, guys like Byron Young, they all need to be able to kind of finish the job in this game and get Aaron Rodgers on his back to prevent any of these big plays. And I think it's possible. The second is better too. So I think there's some legitimate optimism in what the defense could do in this game on the road in the cold because they're young and hungry.
I don't want it to be another situation where I think of the New York game last year, even though it was the Giants. Like the Rams are kind of taking, feels like they keep making the big play on offense to just get the Giants out of reach, and the Giants keep crawling and crawling and crawling back. And I just don't want that to be the case in this Jets game. And I think if you can just control it and get, score early and then stop them and then maybe get like a field goal after that, something like that, that should be enough to put them away, even if they continue to score. I think the defense now, based on this time last year, is leaps and bounds better. So if we if we have to rely on our defense, I don't think that's going to be the case in this game. But if we have to, then I'll feel solid about our chances. I'm just worried, the money has me completely thinking about this game in a whole different light.
Can't get past it. Maybe there's no way that this is connected, but I did think that this was odd. The fact that Zach Evans, former Rams running back, signed with the Jets 4 days before they played the Rams. So he signed with the Rams today. Former 6th-round pick for the Rams last year. He's been out of the NFL since August 29th when the Rams cut him. But the Jets just brought him in the building. And obviously, I don't think it's impacting the spread whatsoever. Who even knows if the kid's going to get playing time? It's related to the injuries in the running back room. But something that I thought was a little bit fishy as the Jets start to prepare for the Rams to bring in some previous Rams talent.
Seattle type move. Seattle always does that.
It is a Seattle type move. Yeah. Any kind of advantage you can get, they'll take. So I think this is going to be a good one. I want to see the Rams, obviously, be able to handle business. And I think they will. If they could establish dominance at the line of scrimmage, if they could establish their run game, they may not be able to throw the ball as effectively in the cold. So maybe a similar situation to last year. But execution down the stretch, you can convert on third down, you convert in the red zone. You got to be better than you were in the red zone last week against the 49ers. And I think that that's possible with this team. So I'm optimistic. And I think defensively, if you get Aaron Rodgers on his back, you get him to scramble around a little bit, and the secondary is able to step up. Hopefully you get Kobe Durant back in this game. I think they're going to be just fine. Akello Witherspoon had a great week this past week against some pretty solid talent in Juwan Jennings. We know what Debo is, but still, secondary had to come up, step up, and play. Guys like Quentin Lake, I'm overly confident in this team in this very moment. So I think they're going to do the job.
I think it's annoying to have to go up against Rodgers right after that documentary drops. One, because I like he's somebody where like that stuff absolutely matters to him. Oh my God, I cannot. I'm actually going to watch that on the plane tonight, so I'm actually really looking forward to it. The 3 hours of Rodgers telling me I'm an idiot for getting vaccines. But still, I think like any other team, like if you have Zach Wilson right now on the Jets, like if you have like a different quarterback, I think they're actively trying like not to win this game in a way. Yeah. You know what I mean? But Rodgers is such a head case, and it's like, no, I'm going to win this game because I need to, because I'll prove it to Ryan Clark, who I'm talking crap on right now.
Yeah, so much drama. Drama on the Pat McAfee show, drama with Ryan Clark. It's unnecessary. Hopefully,
it's so unnecessary.
GM search. Hopefully, the injuries. Hopefully, the Aaron Rodgers Netflix documentary. Hopefully, it's all just a massive distraction, and this team comes out and lays an egg at home.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario for the Jets is to lose out and get a high draft pick. Truly, like for them to be thinking, I know they're going to want to play spoiler, and tanking isn't a thing in football, but at the same time, if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, I'd feel better about the matchup. Yeah,
I think that's fair. All right, I think it's time for our favorite part of the week.
Nick's picks.
Ready for it?
Mm-hmm. Next pick.
Let's do it.
We're back. Nick's picks. 3 straight weeks, 3 positive weeks. We went 4-1, 4-1, and 3-2. So that's a lot of money right there. It's a lot of green. Chalk that down as things we love to see. Something else we love to see. Dean and I are playing each other this week in fantasy. Winner gets to go to the Super Bowl, something neither of our franchises have ever done. I beat Dean twice in the regular season, so I feel like Dean is probably going to McVay Shanahan me here and win in SoFi. It's really tough to be a team 3 times in the year, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, we'll see. I just saw the updated spread. It went from 21 to 23 points in favor of my squad. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
I picked up Craig Reynolds, the 3rd string running back for the Lions, and I also have Gibbs.
I'm surprised you didn't pick up Tyler Higbee.
I also picked up Tyler Higbee. But now that Penix is playing, I also have Kyle Pitts. Now that Penix is playing, I think a young quarterback's best friend is the tight end. So that actually might help me out. But I also
all these things could be working in your favor. David Montgomery's hurt. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get 40 carries and 50 points. Who the hell knows? It's all going to work out in Nick's favor, I'm sure. But we'll see.
Hopefully. But anyway, let's get into the picks. Since it's Wednesday, I get to do a Thursday pick. Broncos at Chargers. Chargers are slightly favored in this game. I don't like the Broncos, period. I think they should have lost last week. Jonathan Taylor has that bonehead move where he dropped the ball at the goal line. Even though, personally, I felt like it looked like it went in, but I guess it didn't. I'm not in on the – it was so close, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in on the Bo Nix train personally. I think the culture in LA is stronger. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. if you can give me Herbert or Bo Nix for the next 5 years, I think people in Denver would convince themselves like, oh, Bo Nix, we have the best quarterback in the draft. But it's obviously Justin Herbert. Which coach I would rather have? I'd much rather have Harbaugh. Give me the Chargers -2 over, and then also over 42. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, but 42 on a Thursday night game in LA just feels way too low. So Chargers -2 and over 42.
All right, we got Chargers -2 over the Broncos, and we got over 42 in Broncos Chargers, which I would agree that number seems a little bit low, but we shall see. It might be a defensive showdown. But again, I agree with everything except for I do like Sean Payton. I know he's an asshole, but I do like him.
I mean, Harbaugh is like the asshole, you know?
Yeah.
Payton, I just think is like he came into there and was like, I can't do this with Russell Wilson. And then you give Russell Wilson to a good coach like Tomlin. And it's like, oh, no, this guy isn't washed. Payton's just being an asshole.
Good argument. Good argument. What do you got next?
Eagles at Commanders. I'm tired of the Eagles. I'm just annoyed. Sorry. They bring it out of me. They need to start dropping some games. The Commanders played them horrible last time they played, but they usually split these two teams for whatever reason. The Eagles usually don't end up sweeping the Commanders. Plus, it's the end of the year, so an inevitable Eagles collapse is incoming. They're telling us on the sideline each week that it's not working. Sirianni is trying to talk to his players, but getting stopped by Big Dom in the background. Hurts and the wide receiver or AJ Brown are like mad at each other. Hurts is being like, oh, so see, I told you. And it's like, dude, you're holding this team back. I don't know. I just really don't want the Eagles to win, but I
have a feeling you're going to pick the Commanders in this game. Just based on that, I have a feeling you're going to go Commanders to cover this.
I'm taking Commanders +3.5. Yeah, give me Commanders.
Commanders +3.5. I am not surprised after hearing that little bash sesh on the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, just a reminder, they have won 10 straight games.
Yeah, no, but also, why is that spread +3.5? Then it should be like.
You're right. It's similar to the Rams Jets.
Yeah, it is. It is. I bet everybody's on the Eagles in that game too.
I'm sure. Vegas wants their money back. What's next?
Saints at Packers Monday night. Why is this spread +14? Like, come on, the Saints are not that bad.
Yeah, I would say, well, I mean, you're not going to start Jake Haener. So you're going to start Spencer Rattler. And Spencer Rattler they put up 21 points to come back. I believe it was against the Commanders in the final minute of this past week. So that could be why. Yeah,
I still, though, but like Rattler, I mean, I know he didn't start the game, but he's got to be better than the
he is.
Like he's like a free-form quarterback.
Also, the Saints have no Alvin Kamara and just signed Edwards-Helaire. So, they're going to be shaky from a run game perspective as well.
They are, but I think Edwards-Helaire is a good pickup for them. I think the Packers also can play with the lead and slow down the pace. So 14.5 is still a lot. The game could end with 13 points from the Packers and 0 from the Saints if it's going to be super low. But the Packers, I think they're a solid team. But at the same time, I'm going to follow the money. All the money's on the Packers. It's prime time, so everybody will have the Packers money line as the last leg of their parlays. So hopefully we can get a little Saints money line action. Go really small on that. I'm recommending really small, not an official pick. Do pizza money on that. But give me Saints +14.5. That's my favorite bet of the week.
+14.5. Okay. Yeah, that's a little wild, huh?
That's way too high. I don't care if it's in Lambeau. I mean, maybe it's snowing. If it's snowing, that helps our case because then it's going to be a really slow game.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, that would be my luck too. Another running back I have is Josh Jacobs in the snow. Who knows how that's going to impact them. All right, what do you got next? You got a quick pick?
Quick pick, 49ers at Dolphins, and it's a pick 'em. I mean, I just can't quit the Niners betting on them. I'm taking the Niners all day, twice on Sunday. I think the Niners are a much better coach team. I think Purdy is a better quarterback than Tua. I mean, those two things alone is usually enough for me to make the bet. So give me the Niners as a pick 'em.
Yeah, it seems like the Dolphins are going through a fire sale right now. They're getting rid of Odell, potentially Calais Campbell. The core of that team is starting to crumble a little bit, and who knows what's going to happen with them in the future. But I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Dean.
Let's go 4-1 again. Let's go 5-0.
Let's go 5-0. Also, let's beat the Los Angeles Apes Anaheim so the Los Angeles Lokies can be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Nick and I are both Los Angeles teams, but we're under our own personal brands. So I'm the Los Angeles Apes Anaheim. Nick is the Los Angeles Lokies, the evil younger brother. So it all makes sense.
Yeah.
All makes sense.
Dean's picture is a Donkey Kong. It's hilarious. Stoked. I may pick up Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, because you said that. I did not know that. Imagine he's the one that ends your season because you just brought it up.
That would be my luck. As always, we appreciate you guys listening. Nick, I'll see you in a couple days. Can't wait to watch some Rams football together. Hopefully the season ends the way that we're all expecting it to, with the Rams to continue on this trajectory.
Adding Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
We shall see. We appreciate you guys as always, and go Rams.
Go Rams. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, Dean. I'll see you in like 5 days, and we'll have a Merry Christmas together.
Love it. Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll talk to you guys probably a couple times before that.
Happy holidays. Enjoy the time, everybody. Peace.
Indeed. Go Rams.